What's up guys, it's Tech9 and today I've got an interesting video for you. So for those of you who don't know, I love aviation and I will spend hours studying it, and in reality I do want to get a job later on in the future making planes. However, today is not that day. I am young, I need to go to college, I need to get jobs. So for now, I'll just do YouTube and make videos on it. So today I'm going to be talking about one of my personal favorite aircraft, the Convair B-58 Hustler. Now for those of you who don't know, it's one of the most revolutionary aircraft of its time. Yet it was one of the most short-lived aircraft. So, hi Clark. Let's go back to 1950s, the 1950s and 60s. You had the threat of intercontinental bombers from the Soviet Union threatening to attack the United States. While in reality, those bombers probably not have reached America, and by the time they had, by the time they're, while the bombers could not have reached America with their fuel load, even in desperate means. The threat was still there for areas such as Los Angeles, Alaska, Seattle, and we needed a nuclear deterrence. And, sorry, Clark is on top of the table right now, being weird, and so we decided to design an aircraft, a supersonic Mach 2 plus aircraft that could serve as a deterrent for the bombers that were hyped up at the time, but in reality they were mainly hot trash compared to what America could make. So the Convair constructed the B-58 Hustler, a supersonic bomber with its only goal being to carry nuclear weapons at Mach 2. And that was its only goal. It was not stealth. It was not efficiency. That was it. It was for one purpose, and if bombers and missiles were launched, they would go out. That's it. And thankfully, they did not complete their job because we're still here. However, this aircraft served for only 10 years, from 1960 to 1970, and it served no actual combat record that was confirmed. I will say this, there have been allegations that a B-58 was used in the Vietnam War to do high-speed aerial reconnaissance. However, it has not been confirmed. It has not been declassified. The theory exists, but we cannot confirm it. So let's go back to, and in reality, the Convair B-58 Hustler was retired only 10 years after it was first made. The only planes that I can see that have a similar lifespan to that are the planes from the 1920s, which only lasted about 5 to even 2 years. This is on that level of obsolete instantly. And it was honestly kind of sad. I mean, it had a really good concept behind it. It had this really fast retaliation or striking method. Sorry, Clark's being weird. Here. Sit. Anyway, so after the Convair or B-58 Hustler was retired, the Convair actually became defunct. It is not in existence anymore. It's owned by its legacy assets are owned by different companies, and I've taken the liberty and research into seeing what a B-58 Mark II would look like. And honestly, I was hopeful that it could be useful in the future. However, it's not. And Clark's being naughty on camera. Sorry. Anyway, from my research, what I can find, say we were to do a baseline B-58 Mark II, a 50 of every single airframe would cost around $1.25 billion, and for a fleet of about 50 of them, you could be in upwards of over 60 billion, because you have all this remodernization you have to do. You have to take out all the old ones from scrap, and heaven forbid you want to re-go from the ground up. Ugh, that's going to be even more expensive because you're using old techniques that aren't exactly that useful anymore. You have Clark, who continues to try and steal my water. Stop. Anyway, where was I? The B-58 Hustler it needs a humongous amount of reworking. Only about 7 airframes still survive today. They'd have to remake it into a modern, viable aircraft at Mach 2, mind you. This isn't like some subsonic little 737 type jet that you can just revamp into whatever you want. This is a purposefully built Mach 2 bomber, which is extraordinarily hard to switch roles. It would take billions of dollars again to here. You know what? I'm gonna move this cup because he cannot stop stealing it. Anyway, so say that we were not to do the standoff version. We were to do a stealth and electronic warfare type aircraft. All of it would be around $2 billion to revamp this all and to make new aircraft. And this would be upwards of $100 billion for a decent fleet size, little bit, say about 50 or so. And Clark, we're gonna sit on my lap now. And it would be so inhumanely expensive that it would not be worth it to make it. And while the concept is a good idea, like we can use an old idea for something new, unfortunately the idea of Mach 2 plus bombers is no longer feasible in the current technology standpoint of war and the standpoint of debt. So let's make a hypothetical situation. I've done some research and put up some interesting, done some hypothetical research on what the B-58 Hustler could have been used for. So the B-58 is pretty much a standoff aircraft. It is used as a deterrence, and that is it. It is not for much. While it's been considered, it's generally been rejected. So, for example, the Cuban Missile Crisis, it could definitely have been used there. While no missions were used, it could have been used. They could have flown out over Cuba and harassed some of the Soviet and communist Cuban aircraft and ships. It could have been. I mean, it's something that I would definitely, if I was the leader of the Air Force, I would probably have considered doing, just to do some intimidation. But that time is well past. Another thing it could have been used for is the Berlin crisis. It could have definitely have been used for that, where aircraft could have flown from their bases in Missouri and Little Rock to, say, the UK or to France. They could have flown along into Berlin airspace and shown power, saying like, hey, we have these Mach 2 plus bombers that can do some pretty insane strikes. And that could definitely have been a deterrent. However, that was not the case. And for other wars in the area, such as the Sino-Indian War, and it was not used for regional conflicts. It would not have been something that had been used in the Israeli wars, in the India-Pakistani wars, none of that. It probably would have been worthless, just wasted gas. While I do love the B-58 Hustler, unfortunately, its time was very much limited. And I honestly hope that we can continue to learn from the B-58 and other previous concepts so that we can learn from, and so that we can create better aircraft. And thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I have come back by the time this video comes out, but in the meantime, please like and subscribe, show this to your friends, because I do want to get monetized very, very soon. Later.